Basically, a knuckleball is moving unpredictably in the air, side to side, up and down, making it the goalkeeper's worst nightmare. And ultimately what we are trying to achieve here is a ball flying in the air with as little spin as possible. Although many times a successful knuckleball might have some top spin on it as well. Everything I'm about to tell you will apply whether you are trying to achieve a knuckleball from a free kick situation or if the ball is moving. Run up to the ball from a little bit of an angle. You don't want to have an exactly direct straight angle to the ball. And at the same time, you don't want to have as much angle as when you are kicking a curving free kick. You run to the ball on your tiptoes. And the last step, you kind of lift yourself up with your toes like this. If you watch Cristiano Ronaldo's free kick goals, you will see he will always make that same motion. Running to the ball, lifting himself up, almost preparing his foot for what's about to happen when he strikes the ball, like this. Whoop! And then he kicks. It's a very unnatural movement, especially if you're not used to running to the ball like this. Some people like to run up to the ball flat-footed with their heels on the ground all the way like this. But my way of doing that is approaching the ball, running on my tiptoes and locking my ankle with the last step before kicking the ball once again like this.
Your standing foot should be placed directly beside the ball, not in front or behind. And it should be 15 to 20 centimeters away from the ball. There should be a slight bend in your standing leg, and your toes should be pointed directly towards your target.
What part of your foot is making contact with the ball?
Yeah. I just try to use this part of my foot because I think it's the hardest part. You can also try maybe a bit far more the forefoot, but prefer to use this one.
So toes down?
Yeah, toes down, just like this.
Okay. If you had to put your finger on the exact spot,
yeah,
the sweet spot,
yeah,
where should you put that?
I would go for this. I would go for this.
Most commonly using the hardest bone in your foot, which sits across the laces and instep, is the best connection point for a knuckleball. You need to bend your foot and angle it about 45 degrees on striking the ball so you get a direct and clean hit.
So for the first step, like I mentioned in the video, I'm actually using the hardest bone of my foot, which is a cross between your laces and your instep. And this is genuinely because it's a natural position for me, it's more comfortable. And if you want to copy my way, then I highly suggest you angle your foot 45 degrees outwards, and this way you're going to be getting a nice clean hit on the ball.
And the sweet spot on the football
Yep.
that you aim for to get the knuckleball technique, where would that be?
I would prefer to get it a bit under the midline, a bit lower, so you can create a bit more dip. And I think it's easier to get a clean knuckleball, because if you hit it too high, the ball will stay on the ground and you don't see any effect.
You need to kick the ball dead centre or slightly below in order to achieve a knuckleball free kick. Failing to do so will result in a curve, topspin or backspin effect, which will ruin the knuckleball.
For beginners, I suggest using the valve or a logo on the ball to mark this area out. This way, when approaching the ball, you know exactly where you need to try and kick. Pointing your toes can also help because it reduces your chances of getting underneath the ball and creating a backspin effect.
So just to talk a little bit more about body posture when striking the ball. I'll pause the video in a second after I've struck a ball, and you can see how my body looks when I'm striking the ball. And the thing I want you to pay attention to is my chest. My chest is going to be slightly over the ball. It's not completely over, you're not trying to get it super low, but you also want to be over it enough so that you're not skying it into the stand.
Try not to lean back while hitting the ball. Keep your body straight or slightly leaned forward. It will help you reduce the ball spinning. It will also help you have more direction and more control of the ball.
So, the last thing on our menu is the follow through. And long story very short, you want to keep your follow through short and sharp while leaning over the ball like this. So compared to some other techniques out there, in order to shoot a beautiful knuckleball, you don't want to follow through by just letting your foot swing all the way up like this. And you don't want to stop your follow through completely after your initial contact with the ball. So basically what happens is that after you hit the ball and you follow through quick and sharp, your foot is gonna go slightly across your body, and what that does is makes your non-kicking foot drag along the ground like this. Don't worry about that movement, it just happens because your foot and your whole body weight is pushing you slightly on the side.
You want to keep your follow through minimal because this is how you actually take the spin out of the ball to create that knuckle effect.
To do so, you need to use the momentum from striking the ball to plant your shooting foot into the ground straight away. I tend to bring my foot across my body before planting it, which is more comfortable and natural for me. I imagine it being like a quick punch of the ball, and if you follow these 3 steps correctly, you should end up with a solid knuckleball technique.
So I'm going to show you some more examples in slow motion from different angles, and honestly this step is the most important because this is what takes the spin out of the ball as well as kicking it in the right place. But honestly, with the follow through, it takes a lot of practice. You've got to be committed. I mean, I think it took me at least 6 months to start getting a tiny bit of consistency. I'm 2 and a bit years down the line now, and I'd like to think I'm pretty consistent, which is why we do our unedited free kick sessions. So honestly, the main thing you can do is just practice. You've got to be consistent. You've got to be committed to trying. And it can be quite difficult, especially if you're used to curving the ball or just shooting normally. It's really, really hard to get used to, but trust me, once you do, it's a lot easier and it will get better.
Before hitting the ball, you should slightly rotate your foot outwards and then make it move distinctly to the direction of your strike and target. Neither left nor right, just directly at your target. But the point is to make a very, very quick move. And after that, you stop your leg immediately. You have to feel the movement. At first, you move your hip and shin together, then the hip stops and your shin continues to move. It almost slaps or punches the ball. It's a very fast movement.
Here are some common problems. I find that most players struggle with striking the ball with the sweet spot of their foot, where they have their hips and knees opened up and strike it too much with the instep of their foot. This creates a curving shot with side spin, less power, and no knuckle. Make sure that you make contact with your laces by leaning to the side, pointing your toes, and turning in that knee.